Good morning, everyone. My name is Cathy Jackson, or Cathy Lhamo Jackson. Thank you so much for being here today. You see in back of me, it's a little unusual looking. We had a white Tara retreat for everyone to have longevity and be free of suffering. So it's kind of appropriate. And we just finished it yesterday. Lama Cathy led it for 7 days. And hopefully, as time goes on, we'll be able to include more people into our retreats where they can just come in. Because of the weather, I kept coming in the middle of the day or the end of the day or the middle at the beginning and then leaving early. So it was very individualized, which was really nice. And we had really good pizza one day. So I've been really thinking kind of long and hard. I say all the time, I really rather not be teaching this class. It's kind of, I think, for really good instructors. I'd rather just teach other things, but I thought this year, whenever I teach, I'm going to try and teach on Bodhichitta, because it's something I'm lacking, and which most of us struggle with, I think. And we'll go into all these definitions. But first, I have to do housekeeping. So if any time during this talk this is too weird or you just can't relate, the door is right there. I'm offended, but no, I'm joking. You should leave if you need to. Also, there's restrooms right outside the door and downstairs. If you get thirsty, there's a really nice a water station downstairs with filtered water. Also, I learned yesterday in the refrigerator we have filtered water, right, built into the machine. There's food downstairs. If you suddenly get peckish and you need something to eat, that I'm not offended at all. And lastly, every Sunday, going on concurrently with this class, is the beginning class down in the, I don't know what room they call that, but I guess in our classroom. When you first go down the stairs, it's kind of in front of you to the right of the library. And there we teach at 10 a.m. basic meditation, and you can always go to get a refresher course. And then every Sunday we have one of 8 topics, and it goes on, it just rotates through, and you can walk in at any time. So if you'd rather do that right now, that's fine. I can't remember, we're what, on the second week? What is it? Today's daily practice? Oh, that's a good one. So daily practice is today, if in case you were inspired by that. So today's topic, we're going to be visiting the Four Immeasureables, which is a prayer that's inserted in most of our practices that I don't think most of us think much about. We just rip right through it because it's only 4 lines. And Rinpoche and many of the other teachers have kept talking about, we just give it some really quick lip service and then move on instead of pausing. So today we're going to talk about something where if you're not in a big group or you can just practice at home, you can pause and look into this. And so my main reference will be from this book. And Don has, when he posts this on YouTube, hi everyone, by the way, online, that will also include the references for the teaching. So there's a chapter in this. This is by my teacher, Khenpo Rinpoche. He passed away a few years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago. And then I found another, we've been doing this practice, the White Tara retreat, and I found a great section in there about this actual practice. So I'm going to be reading from both of those. So if you're coming in right now, you can sit anywhere you want. And are you here for beginning class or for just a regular Sunday class? Okay, great. So beginning class, just to remind everyone, is downstairs going on, starting just right about now. So before we begin, before we even begin any prayers, why don't we just sit and relax? Digest some of those delicious snacks you had. And this is your time. Use it well. So let's start with our prayers, which we love to do. Well, first, we're going to read the refuge prayer, if you all have that. Does anyone not have this sheet? I have an extra one if anyone needs it. Okay. And after that, we're going to read the Four Immeasurables, which we're going to talk about. So typically, we chant it in Tibetan, Tibetanized English, and then we'll read the translation afterwards. And because this is a special prayer, we hold our hands at our heart, And with our palms, we don't flatten them. We kind of have almost like there's a jewel here. We kind of open our hands so they're rather gracious looking. And we hold it somewhere near our heart. And I usually, whoever's chanting hits a little note first. Oh, and don't worry how you sound. Om Sanjay Chodan Soki Chonamla Janchu Bardu Dani Kyatsuchi Dagi Gensok Kipe Sonamki Drola Penchir Sanjay Drupar Shok. Let's do it again. It sounded great. Sanjay Chodan Soki Chonamla Janchu Bardu Dani Kyatsuchi Dagi Gensok Kipe Sonamki Drola Penchir Sanjay Drupar Shok. And in English, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Assembly most excellent, I take refuge until I reach enlightenment. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I achieve enlightenment for the sake of all beings. This prayer has so much to do with what we're going to cover today, but let's move on to the next prayer. It's the one with our crest on it. It has a circle on the top. And you don't have to put your hands in prayer for this one. Why don't we read it in English first? It begins with may all beings. Does everyone have that? It looks like this. May all sentient beings gain happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be cut off from the highest bliss, which is devoid of suffering. May they come to rest in the great impartiality, which is free of attachment and aversion. And the version I learned was the last one. May all beings, I have to go through it in my brain. May they come to rest in the great impartiality, free of attachment and aversion, having the same great love for all beings. That's my favorite part. And I made copies and I left it at home. I'm sorry, but I'm glad we have this here. So today I'm primarily going to be speaking maybe on the first and second, and just looking at this. The first one is actually concerning loving kindness or love. May all beings gain happiness and the cause of happiness. The second one, may they be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. That is what we consider as compassion. The third one, may they never be cut off from the highest bliss, which is devoid of suffering. Some people call this joy or sympathetic joy. And the last one is equanimity. May they come to rest in the great impartiality, which is free of attachment and aversion. So traditionally, it's taught first you do love, and then compassion, and then the other two. But many teachers prefer first to work with impartiality, because if we learn love and compassion, but we're not doing it for anyone besides our small little circle, then it's really not the point. The point is to do this for every living being. This is called limitless or immeasurable. These are the four immeasurables, or the four limitless ones. So I thought first I'm going to look this up a little bit. I just decided to change this right now, of course. But I think it's very important that you realize how important it is to slowly, and by the way, as kind of an intro, these are part of our development to becoming a Buddha. Our goal is to become a Buddha. That it's not just to sort of sit at this really cool little nude center and look at these cool statues and go home and tell your friends, I know how to meditate, and that's wonderful, but really the point of this is to become enlightened, to become a Buddha. That is our goal. So the Buddhas, they are not something that's over there and we're here. We have a connection with them. So these prayers really create a great tenderler connection. And so it's very important that you know that. And so the whole point of this practice is to slowly start breaking down whatever gets in your way of becoming an enlightened Buddha. And the biggest thing in our way is our ego clinging and how everything is around us. Everything's pretty much self-centered around us, particularly this point of impartiality. When we pray, do we pray for everyone, even powers right now that I'm not sure I'd really like to pray for, but I'm going to, because that's how we're trained. And by doing that, it changes something deep within your core. I've shared this story many times where I did a similar practice when I'm a hospital chaplain. I was trained in a very intensive program to learn what gets in my way when I'm around the sick and dying. And it was a beautiful program at Ohio State University, Wexner Medical Center. But it's an intense program where you're up close and personal with your shortcomings, and 4 or 5 other people are with you for a year, and they're going to remind you what they are. And I remember my first day, someone said to everyone else in front of me, I shouldn't be in the program. I'm not Christian. I'm a Buddhist. I don't have a master's of divinity. And I'm really not up to par, probably because I was also old. And so, and I sat there, and I was kind of gobsmacked. I didn't know, and like my supervisors, this is a closed room, they're like, well, what do you feel about that? I'm like, well, I don't want to tell you what I'm really feeling about this person right now. So, and I tell this story not because I'm a good practitioner, I'm not. I'm pretty lazy. But I'm going to tell you because this stuff works. So I remember going home, and we were told we couldn't discuss anything behind those closed doors with anyone besides our supervisors. And I didn't want to talk to them because I didn't like their attitude. Because I felt I was going to break a lot of my vows if I said what I was thinking. So I went home and I did these type of prayers. I did sending and receiving, taking on this person's suffering and sending them my love, which was very hard to do. My husband, who's sitting outside right now, he's my Uber driver. He came home from work and he's like, you're so quiet, what's wrong? Because I'm usually not very quiet. And I said, I can't talk about it, but I'm processing. So I did this practice for several hours on and off. Went back the next day and got more stuff said at me. And then slowly over time, I realized this person had a pattern, because we often have patterns when we're abusive to other people. And then I realized other people were suffering in the group. But every day, I kept her in my practice. And after a few months, she came to me, and she was more wrathful than I am. And she said, are you praying for me? What's going on here? She said, I feel this kindness coming out of you, and it's really driving me crazy. And I thought, wow, this stuff really works, even with me. So I just want you to, and so now we're very good friends. She's really turned in, the program really, it's a real transformative program if you let yourself go and really immerse in it. And I'm very proud of her, what she's done with her life. And of all the other students that were in the program, because we all had to face our own shortcomings. Am I worthy of the program? And so I think we face all of these things all the time in our life. And so what do? We pretty much set ourselves up for a slight failure by being around only those people we think we're safe with, which is not true. People in your family are always driving us a little crazy, but we know them, that's kind of our comfort zone. And why should we say you should pray for everyone, have complete impartiality, having the same great love for everyone? Because we believe deeply that since beginningless time, everyone in this room has been my parent. Everyone in this room has been my teacher. Everyone outside, everyone in Washington, D.C., and other places I don't want to mention, have been my teachers, have inspired me to become who I am now. And they're not having a good time right now, whoever they are, not just D.C., but other people throughout the world. We all go through different stages because of our karma, our karmic pattern, what we've been given as an opportunities to grow, or maybe we have to suffer. But we need to slowly develop a very warm heart for everyone. But first, it has to be impartial to everyone, open to all living beings, not just those that you like and you feel comfortable with. So does anyone ever struggle with that? Okay, thank you. I'm not alone, okay. I try not to watch the news a lot because I'll just start breaking all my vows again. Or sometimes I sit there trying to think about it. So instead, I go upstairs and I practice. And but of course, I go on YouTube afterwards and watch what I want to watch. But I think I could really see why Patrul Rinpoche particularly, who was part of the main instructor on this practice, really talked a lot about, first, we should be impartial for every living being. Just have that same great love and warmth for everyone. How do you do it? We're going to talk about that. Today, I might just start with the first part, and then we'll move on. But the first part is really crucial because I think it kind of lays out the whole framework. So this is in our Chenrezig text, our white Tara, our green Tara, our medicine Buddha. There are just so many different practices that we do where we have these 4 lines. They're almost always exactly the same lines. And it's just kind of a little insert. They're called inserts. So a lot of our sadhanas, anyone here do Chenrezig practice or Amitabha? So does everyone know what a sadhana is? Maybe I should back up a little bit. So anyone not know what I'm talking about? So we have, we are Vajrayana. I always try to keep my talk simple, but we can't because it's so interwoven. The practices we do here are according to Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. And if you're ever interested, we have those beginning Buddhism classes that really cover this in much more detail. And we can always share with you very good reading. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche's Dharma Paths is a very good book to examine this. When the Lord Buddha taught, over 2,600 years ago, he taught at different times according to the different personalities of his students. So first he taught the meditation that we do here at 10 o'clock in the morning, and downstairs they learn at 10, shamatha, how to calm our mind. It's calm abiding is shamatha practice. But then the students started to grow, and also different students would come. He didn't necessarily always have exactly the same students. And then he realized it was time to start examining other areas. He spoke on emptiness and compassion, but particularly compassion the second time around. He taught from the Mahayana perspective, which is the greater perspective, the greater wheel, where we learn how to develop compassion. So, and loving kindness, which we're going to talk about today. And so not only did he teach on it, but then over the centuries, various different tools evolved. Lama Cathy teaches one called Lojong, mind training, where we do that sending and the receiving. There's also one of my favorite books, The 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva, where you have little slogans. Where Kala Rinpoche used to tell us, put it in your pocket, and whenever you're standing in the line at the bank, no one does that anymore, but in the old days, just pull it out and look at the slogan for the day or something. And so these little things start chipping away our habitual patterns of having everything be about me, and start opening it up to see a whole other world out there of how to become compassionate and loving for everyone. And so that's the most beautiful part of this whole practice, is that these 4 lines are actually a meditation practice that most people just rip through. When I'm doing my practice, I just go right through it. Don't even spend a moment to think, wow, this has an incredible history. This was said by the Lord Buddha. It's in some of the sutras. So I just wanted to make sure today you kind of understand that. So moving on, I'm kind of all over the place today. But we were talking about the 3 vehicles of Buddhism. The Hinayana, we're focusing kind of a little bit more on ourselves and getting ourselves together, where we're calming our mind, becoming clear, a little bit more open. It really takes away a lot of our edges so that we become much more calm and open for everyone. Then next, we begin to learn how to do more compassionate practices, starting to think more about others instead of only myself. And then the next one is Vajrayana, which is where we were talking about sadhanas, where we do very special practices where we actually, you notice in back of me, there's kind of a lot of statues, and they're all representatives of the practices we do. For instance, we just did this beautiful practice. The shrine in back of me is of white Tara, and we actually visualize that we become an enlightened being. We sort of have a dress rehearsal of our enlightenment, of our being a Buddha, and we're visualizing helping all living beings. We do this in Medicine Buddha, Chenrezig, Green Tara. Sometimes they have a slight focus, Medicine Buddha is for healing, mentally and physically. Green Tara is really cutting through fears, so you become much more fearless. And white Tara, again, is another healing practice. So we have these beautiful practices, and they're called sadhanas. So they're our little prayer book. We have them all in the back, and a lot of us have them at home. And I can always tell you where to buy them. And usually for the practice, it's very nice to have either an empowerment or a reading transmission, and then somebody to explain to you how to do the practice. I would not rely solely, I love YouTube, and I love so many of the teachings, but I would always work with a teacher like Lama Cathy and Lama Tom who are here. And then they can always help you with that. And we have workshops where we teach these practices, how to go through them, and they're very multi-layered, which is really wonderful. And so in this, I've been referring to these 4 lines are often in those sadhanas, in all of them, for the most part. And it's very wonderful. So I just thought today we should take a quick visit on it. But first, let's go back to impartiality, because I think this is kind of an important point. I just wonder if any of you have ever come to grips with somebody that's driving you crazy and done something productive with it, or prayed for them, or thought about, in chaplaincy, we have to really go to uncomfortable zones. Why are they like this? Or for me, it's just what it is, because it's so complex. We have no idea what this patient's going through. Why are they afraid? Well, it might be of what the doctors are going to do, what they've heard. They're afraid of leaving home, leaving their pets, leaving their kids. Maybe they'll be worse off when they go home. Will anyone take care of them? There's just so many fears and other things that get in the way of our lives that I think it's important to remember that it's very complex. And when we see bad behavior, nothing's permanent. So hopefully it's a phase. I'm hoping for some things it's a phase. But no matter what, we should be thinking that. So do anyone here have any stories or anything where they've broken through that moment? Or anyone challenged right now? Or why don't we, instead of you talking to me, why don't we just take a moment and we'll just do a little quiet meditation on that. So I want you to sit up straight, put your feet on the floor if you can, or if you're sitting in a chair, just get comfortable. And if you're sitting on a cushion, you don't have to put your feet on the floor. And just check your posture. And you can keep your eyes open with a very light gaze, looking downward. Or you can look straight ahead or close your eyes. And just breathe naturally. And now we're going to think about impartiality, having an equal vision and love for everyone. So first bring to mind those that mean a great deal to you, that you love dearly. You should feel great warmth from this, deep in your heart. Be it your children, your spouse, your partner, your pets, bring great love. Your teachers, someone at work that inspires you. Okay, so could everyone bring someone to mind? Anyone not think of someone? See, so we kind of have our own circles, right? So now I want you to check your posture. Remember that feeling you have in your heart for them. And think of someone that's a little bit more neutral in your life. Maybe someone at work that, just an acquaintance. You don't have any feelings that are intense, no deep connection, but no deep revulsion, just a connection, very light. And then next is the category we sometimes don't want to face, but we all have this. for the most part? Who is it that gives you a hard time? That triggers you. You don't feel comfortable with. You don't trust. You don't open up to. Those are the people we want to work with. We already have our support system. Okay, so no more meditation. So we already have our support system. We know who they are. And some people you meet just have an instant connection with it. It's always amazing how that happens. But there are other people you bump into, you immediately like, And those are the people when you do practice, if you could take just a few minutes to also send them that same warmth and love is very important. Because these practices are called immeasurable for two reasons. Our audience is limitless to the amount of beings there are in the universe. We send this out to all living beings, not just people in Columbus, Ohio. And also, the other limitlessness is the compassion, the love, the joy, the equanimity. There is no limit to this, yet we tend to narrow things down very quickly, so keep that very open. So are there any questions about equanimity before I go on to love? Oh, I forgot to mention, are you taking refuge later? So when someone walks in the room with flowers, I got to figure it's probably something not for me, but I thought it was very special. So before I forget to mention this, Lama Cathy has so kindly, who has been here for the last probably more than 7 days doing retreat with us. Today she's giving the refuge vow. This is not an advertisement, but it is an aside. I forgot she's doing this, I think at 1:15, right? And if you're interested in becoming a Buddhist, if you're not yet a Buddhist, you could always go down and ask her a few questions before she starts. It's a very sweet but not long ceremony. And it's a big step, though, in one's life. So thank you. And so if anyone else is interested, you might want to go downstairs before 1:15 and seek out Lama Cathy if you had a question. So anyway, okay. So we talked about equanimity. So I'm not going to talk any more about it. Today, I just mostly want to introduce some of these ideas to you. But I'm going to first read a little bit about this from this booklet because I really liked some of what it said. So, without a genuine impartial commitment to the well-being of all living beings, we cannot become a Buddha. So we have to have a genuine impartial commitment for everyone. And it doesn't happen overnight. This is a little bit uncomfortable zone, what we're talking about, and that's normal. It's very normal to feel, I don't know what she's talking about, I'm not going to go there right now. But one day, it'll come to you like, oh, maybe I should face this. So Buddhahood is our goal. And how do we become Buddhas? Well, we have various practices, and the main one is called Bodhichitta, or the heart of enlightenment. I also like it because people that take the Bodhisattva vow were considered warriors of compassion. I think warriors of compassion is, I know that sounds strange, but you have to be brave to do some of these practices, very brave, and have confidence. And it takes a little while, because first you have to learn about it. It doesn't happen overnight. So Bodhichitta, which is the heart of enlightenment, acts like a boat that carries us on our journey to becoming a Buddha. Through developing perfect kindness and compassion towards others, the Buddhas have all attained enlightenment. All Buddhas have attained enlightenment because they practice these. And they are free from suffering and confusion, endowed with perfect knowledge, wisdom, and the ability to benefit beings on a vast scale. So again, I wonder how many people in this room really think you're going to become a Buddha? We don't think that way. So the practices that we just did this weekend, are a great example. It's so exciting because throughout the practice, they make you visualize you becoming a Buddha. Yeah, right. I, for years, never did that. I had all my visualizations in front of me. Nothing's over here. because I did not feel I was very worthy of this stuff, not at all. I have a lot of shortcomings, and they're pretty much right on the surface. You can't miss them. Orville is out there. You can talk to him. My husband just retired. I'm going through a lot. I love him dearly. So, but it's really cool, though, to realize also those that you love dearly really can drive you crazy. But at the same time, we're comfortable with them, but we're uncomfortable with those that we don't know. It's rather fascinating. So our goal is to become a Buddha, and we do this through different methods and training. And doing the Bodhisattva, besides becoming a Buddhist as a refuge, then we take something called the Bodhisattva vow, to vow not to become fully enlightened until all living beings have been removed from suffering. And then, so many of us have taken that vow, and every day we renew it. And every day we break it, and every day we repair it. It's rather lovely. Buddhism has great systems built in so that we don't feel too much guilt. So this is a very exciting time, I think, and that our center is now open and very active. It makes me so happy because we have so many opportunities for you to start learning this. Be it Lama Cathy teaches wonderful courses on mind training, which is very important. We learned how to do the shamatha, how to calm down, but then these emotions bubble up. How do you deal with all that stuff? And that's the biggest thing. How do I deal with my frustration with someone? How do I deal with knowing my shortcomings? Well, we have methods for that. And you just have patience, which I don't have, but you try. You try these things, and you just know it's okay to be like that. It's okay, but you're trying. I think trying is the biggest thing. So I'm going to read this again because we do not believe we're ever going to become a Buddha. One of my sweet teachers told me a few years ago, he said, "You don't get it. You're supposed to be the Buddha, the deity. Nothing's out here. It's all within here. It's all in our mind, in our hearts." So we have to remind ourselves that more and more so. So again, I'm going to talk about what a Buddha is. Bodhichitta acts like a boat. That's the heart of awakening, the training we're getting to become a Buddha. So what are Buddhas? They develop perfect kindness and compassion towards everyone. Those that have attained enlightenment, they are free from suffering and confusion, endowed with perfect knowledge, wisdom, and the ability to benefit beings on a vast scale. And it is said that Buddhas have a commitment, sort of their job is to be there if they're called upon. So it's a pretty wonderful thing to become a Buddha in this lifetime. It might take a while. And then we need aspiration, and it should not be limited. We must generate the attitude, the aspiration, and the commitment to accomplish liberation for all living beings without exception. Not just from suffering and pain, but from suffering altogether. And we're going to go into what that is later. So let's look at the time. So I'm going to just read here what the four are, and also go over quickly kind of some of the highlights, and then we're going to look into loving kindness. So one of the means of cultivating a pure enlightened mind, part of bodhicitta, is to recite and contemplate these four immeasurables. So we don't just say them, we contemplate them. And again, not when you're doing group practice, but when you're at home, and you can bring it up anywhere online, they're everywhere. But you can look up the references I have. So you contemplate this practice, and it's just slowly wears down some of our resistance. The first immeasurable is, as we saw on the paper, may all beings have happiness in the cause of happiness. That is what we wish for everyone, not limiting just those in our group, nor particular gender, nor just humans, for everyone, all animals. We make this wish for everyone and all beings in whatever form they appear in. Ordinarily, what beings think of as happiness can be a source of future suffering. It's not always the kind of happiness we wish them. So we're looking for a very pure type of happiness, which we'll visit. The second one, so that was loving kindness. The second one is compassion, limitless compassion. And it's also called ninjay in Tibetan. We pray, may all beings be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. So the first one was about happiness. Compassion is, may beings be free of suffering. And we will be visiting the 3 types of suffering later on. We're praying that everyone without exception becomes free of physical, mental, emotional suffering that they have, including the suffering of being deprived of what they need or want, and the great suffering of those in the lower realms. So one of my favorite descriptions is, I always love when I sit at these chairs, things just roll everywhere. I'm notorious. So we're born as humans, and our suffering is sickness, old age, which is obvious to most of us. But my favorite one is getting what you don't want and not getting what you want. I'll say that again. So sickness, old age is some of our sufferings, and change is a suffering. But the hardest one is getting what you do not want. And we want things all the time, but we don't always get them. That's another style of our suffering. So the key here is you're going through that, but you're not alone. Everyone suffers from that. Everyone in this realm has the same style of suffering. So bewilderment, confusion, frustration, everyone has it. So why not love everyone? We love ourselves. We're an expert at this already. We already know limitless compassion and limitless love. We do it for ourselves nonstop. So now we have to sort of open our hearts up and think, oh, we've already been training this. Let's open up the floodgates. All right, that was the second one. The third one is called immeasurable joy, or gawa in Tibetan. The line is, may they never be without that genuine happiness free from suffering. So it was interesting. Rinpoche said that this is a result of happiness and compassion. Having developed happiness and its cause, and compassion and its cause, is the experience of the ultimate happiness of Buddhahood. So this state of joy is this joy of awakening as a Buddha, which is beyond all suffering. And then the last one we talked about is equanimity. Or impartiality. I like the word impartiality a lot. May all sentient beings abide in that great impartiality, free of attachment and aversion, to those near and far. And not only do we restate our impartiality for everyone, but also may they develop that. So those are the 4 in a capsule, in a little nutshell. But now let's kind of start diving deeper. Are there any questions yet? Any questions online? No. So maybe we should pick up that sheet of paper for a moment, the one that has the 4 immeasurables. Let's read it again in English. Actually, let's read it in Tibetan first so that you learn it. And the prayer, you do not put your hand in prayer mudra, you just put your hand in your lap. It goes, Sam chem tam she dewa dang dewe gyu da den par gyurachik duk ngal dan duk ngal gi gu dan jawa gyurachik duk ngal me pe dewa dampa damin drawa gyurachik nerin cha dan drawe tom yen chen pola ni par gyurachik. Just to let you know, you see the word duk ngal in there a lot. That's suffering. All right, let's do it in English. May all sentient beings gain happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they never be cut off from the highest bliss, which is devoid of suffering. May they come to rest in the great impartiality, which is free of attachment and aversion. So for one moment, I'd like to just say that I know this room is a really nice mix of students. Many of the students in this room I know, and I know that we've been at this for a while. So please realize that any moment you can go. So wouldn't it be nice if you had developed some of these qualities now? So I hope that you really use these prayers well and are inspired by it. And if you forget the words, just think love, compassion, joy, equanimity. You don't have to remember all the fanciness of it all. So now I'm going to explore this book. There's a whole chapter on this. But before I go on, if there's any questions, just raise your hand or speak up. Okay. So Rinpoche, this is by Khenpo Rinpoche. He said the Four Immeasurables is really central to Mahayana Buddhism because it expresses the profound outlook of what Bodhichitta is with the heart of enlightenment. We do it to develop the vast attitude of benefiting all beings and helping them reach enlightenment, not just us, but for them. The side effect is we become enlightened, but that's not the purpose. It's for everyone first. As we've discussed, each one of us, without exception, has the potential to experience the awakened mind. And each one of us also has a lot of obscurations or habits from lifetime without beginning. So I'll say that again. How many of you have been in the beginning classes? Okay. They were laid out by Khenpo Rinpoche. So on a Sunday, there's no commitment. You just go down and listen. And I would highly recommend you try and sit in on some of the classes because a lot of these topics are really explained very detailed, but in a very nice way. We have been taught by the Buddha that all living beings have, some people call Buddha nature. I like enlightened potential. I lived in India and with a group of translators, and there were maybe 5 versions of this word, Tathagata. But all living beings, not just you, not just a Buddhist, has the potential to become awakened. That is why we do these practices, and why we practice love and compassion, because we already have that potential, and we already know how to do it for ourselves, and usually our small little group of other people we love. So that's very important to remember. Every living being has awakened potential. Every living being has Buddha nature. And that alone kind of is the hint, like, this is really important to remember this. So, and there are whole classes, whole books and study fields of study on awakened nature, which I'm not very skilled at teaching. But it's something that's within all of us. It's that seed of love, that seed of compassion, that moment when you look upon a beautiful, innocent child and you were so inspired by that innocence, or you see an act of kindness that churns deep within your being, that it just wells up. So this is something that's so deep within our core. Yet at the same time, we're born in the human realm. So we have that on one side, but this is a wonderful realm to be born into because we also have the negative side. We have our neuroses, our habitual patterns. So this practice helps to smooth out and kind of sand out some of those neurotic patterns slowly. And one of the finest ways to do that is this simple prayer. I mean, you can do all kinds of really fancy schmancy meditations, which are fantastic. But for us, with limited time, or we think we have limited time, we think we have a busy life, and we have other things we have to do. This simple prayer takes care of a lot. So I just want you to know how valuable it is. So I'm gonna put this away. I have too many sound effects for everyone. Sorry about that. So in order for this potential to bloom within you, we must have the right attitude and the right motivation. And first, it's essential to understand that we can definitely experience enlightened mind, and we have everything we need within ourselves. And we need to have a firm belief in this fact. So everything to become enlightened, we already have. Second, we should want to share our understanding of this potential with all living beings. Just as we possess enlightened mind, as I said, so does everyone else. So then let's move on to loving kindness. First, let's do a little definition of what it is. The first immeasurable is loving kindness, Maitri in Sanskrit or Jampa in Tibetan. We all have the quality of loving kindness. Our minds are endowed with loving kindness, or just love, if you want me to use that word. But what does this really mean? According to Buddhism, it means being sensitive to the well-being of others. each and every one of us wants to feel good. We want to have physical well-being and a healthy and sane mind. Not only do we desire this for ourselves, but for others as well. We're talking limitless here when we're trained. We have a genuine interest in the physical and psychological well-being of our children, parents, relatives, friends, and colleagues. Therefore, loving kindness is the ability to have a sense of warmth and caring for the well-being of ourselves, everyone else. And as I said earlier, we've been doing this for a long time for ourselves. I love the Tibetan term self-cherishing. We're very good at protecting ourselves, of getting what we need, what we want, what we think makes us feel comfortable. It's sort of built into us a little bit. But that is not our true nature. That is only a habit that we picked up from a long time ago. So this practice works on that, and as I said, it really sands it away. Are there any questions about loving kindness? So can anyone give me a nice example of how to do this? Anyone curious or inspired? Do you have anything?
How to practice loving kindness?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess it's easy to come up with examples. Just doing something kind for someone,
I like that.
saying a nice word to make them feel good about something they worked hard on.
So did you all hear that? Okay. Would you mind going to the microphone? Just one minute. So sorry. By the way, this is Sekila. She's from Ann Arbor, KTC. She was in our retreat with us just the other day.
Yeah, so loving kindness, I think, the way I think about it, in a way it's fun because it's doing something nice for somebody else, something that's going to make them feel good. So like in the retreat, Cathy Lhamo here provided lunch for us on Friday and Saturday, and I made sure to tell her how good it was, because I love pizza and dal. But it wasn't, I mean, everybody...
Adriatico's, not me. Adriatico's.
but everybody put in so much effort. That's a good example for the retreat. Lama Cathy worked her butt off all week. And so many people, Julaine, I mean, is amazing with the shrine. So many people had a hand in making that come together. So I pretty much was just the recipient of all of that hard work on everybody else's part. So even though I didn't help, I did try to tell people how grateful I was for what they were doing.
Also, you were present and you were practicing, which is very inspiring. It's very inspiring to see robes. She is wearing Buddhist robes, the robes that the Buddha wore. And so that's very inspiring for us. I don't know if you know that. So that presence, thank you. Thank you, that's an excellent example. So it's those little acts that change your heart, that open you up. I used to love to go on buses, just love to sit on a bus. You would see, there's that wonderful phrase, acts of kindness. I was always amazed, the littlest things somebody who would be very much not able to, but would try and help somebody. And the bus drivers sometimes would be just so kind and wait for someone to come. So in those instances, you can for a moment offer their merit, rejoice in that, rejoice in any kindness you see at the hospital. I just can't believe we have a whole core of people that support the hospital that most people never see. I work nights, so I get to see it all. I love it. And these people take sometimes I'll see people in the elevators on ladders cleaning the ceiling of the elevator. I mean, you don't have to do that, but they do. They really care. So when I see any kind of goodness, I'm glad you gave this example. This is probably the easiest way to learn love. By our example, we learned it from our families, right? Depending on your family. But I was very lucky to have a very loving family. And to see those acts is just very inspiring. But they're around us all the time. And I think that's a very important thing. And then to realize that not everyone can do that all the time. But those are the people we have to pray for right now. Any other examples or inspirations that would help you? Or any challenges? Yes. Could you go up to the mic? Thank you.
This is a smaller example, I think, but at work, I have a co-driver on the weekends, and we do half the chores each. We have a set list of them. Mine mostly have to be done after closing, but when I have the time, I will often do some of his chores for him.
Nice. That's very nice. You offer your merit. Thank you. I think sometimes it's nice to do things where not everybody notices. I always love those type of acts of kindness. I lived at a yoga ashram a million years ago when I was a hippie. And I'm sorry, I'm 75. I have such a history. And I'll never forget, the head Swami always said, leave everywhere you are better. So whenever I was in the bathroom, I would always try to clean up, or in the kitchen, or anywhere. And then after a while, I realized it was much more than just a physical thing, just mentally, not dumping on everyone, but mentally trying to be more supportive. And that's something I'm not the best at. So that's why why my teacher asked me to do the job I do, to develop that, because that's very important to always have. You were there all weekend supporting everyone. Are you kidding? Everyone was talking to you, so yes. So anyway, it was a great week. That's a great example. Thank you. Any others? Go ahead. And then you can go next. You can put your flowers down on the thing. They're so pretty. No one will take them.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm in social work, and I've been applying to grad school, and I have to write about why, which is like kind of a heavy question, but this memory keeps like bopping around in my head that when we moved into a new house and had movers come in, while they were moving a big bookshelf upstairs, they slipped and fell, and it hit the man's jaw, it broke his jaw, and it lodged into our wall. And he was so apologetic with, his broken jaw, trying to apologize to my father, and my father was just like, let's get you to the hospital, I'm gonna pay you double your rate to do your hospital bills, and because you're gonna need to eat a lot of mashed potatoes, so here's some money for mashed potatoes. And I don't know, that just really stuck with me. I think in a world where people would be so quick to yell and berate, he didn't even care about our smashed wall and bookcase of our brand new home. He just really cared about this injured man. And I don't know, that memory has been
That's
surfacing
really
a
a
lot.
very beautiful example. That could have definitely gone south. Yeah. But because of your father's kindness and heart, and then he comforted him, and then all of you were affected by that. Thank you. That was beautiful. Go ahead.
One thing about loving kindness for me is just letting others have the win sometimes. Taking yourself out of the equation and trying to see other people where they are. I've been taking care of my mom since my dad died, and we have never seen eye to eye. My dad was more my guy. And so I have had to kind of, put myself aside and just let her have her moments, and I don't want to cause her any more suffering. Mm-hmm. So that's been a big one for me, and I'm still practicing and still trying to do that. So,
But I have a question for you though. Mm-hmm. But I would think, how are you able to process that so you don't have resentment?
I think the biggest lesson is just meeting her where she is. She's doing her best she can in life. And it's putting a lot of my ego aside and a lot of my, opinions maybe. We're just two kind of different people, but it's just opinions and thoughts. And I can still be who I am, like what I like, and still support her. All that stuff doesn't matter.
Thank you. That's I'm going to try and use that at home. Thank you. I'm sorry. I try not to bring everything to me, but of course I do. That's what we're good at. So, well, we're almost done. Are there any other questions or inspirational comments? Any challenges? Oh, good. This will be good.
Hi, my name is Dana, and I just have kind of one thing to add. There's a line in a song, and I'm not very good at knowing, the song, but there's a line that says, throw a stone in the ocean, there's hardly a change. But tomorrow, there's a tidal wave. And I like to think that about random acts of kindness and just being kind to people. Because you never know what that one act can do for somebody down the line. And if they think about it and pass it on, now we've got a swell. We've got a groundswell of love, passion, understanding. And I think that's the best way that I
that's
can possibly
beautifully
look at
put.
it.
Thank you. That's really true. It really is a chain. Thank you. And I want to thank you all as having been my parents in other lifetimes. Thank you for all your kindness and your patience. Are there any other comments? I haven't heard much from this side. Have I ignored you? I'm so sorry if I have. Okay, well, it's about that time. Why don't we I just want to thank you all so much for your willingness to open up and share beautiful stories. And also your patience with me, thank you. And I hope that this series will continue. Obviously, I didn't get through all 4. But I think Rinpoche spent so much time in his book on this very first one. He said this is the foundation for all the others. So I think even if you walk away from here and never see me again, I hope that you really keep it churning in your heart and developing this. So let's just take a moment, just rest our mind. How do we do that? Just kind of sit up straight. Some people do better if they just exhale just normally, then inhale, and then exhale normally, and just continue breathing. And sometimes that calms the mind a little bit. If you're too stressed, you could do straw breathing, where you just breathe in through the nose. And when you breathe out, you kind of purse your lips like this, and very slowly breathe out, like you're breathing through a straw. And breathe in, and then do it again. Okay, now just relax. That really helps the nervous system to calm down a little bit. And now we'll do the final prayer. Let's see what we have here. Let's do all 3. We'll start with the one on the back of refuge. It says Sonam. Oh, this is the same as this one. Let's do it in English. By this merit, may all attain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. The courageous Manjushri, who knew everything as it is, Samantabhadra, who also knows in the same way, and all bodhisattvas that may follow in their path, I completely dedicate all this virtue. So this is very important when you do any practice at home. In the beginning, you make an aspiration like the Four Immeasurables. You do that at the beginning of a practice, and then in the middle of the practice, you might want to just touch on that. And at the end, you dedicate all the goodness for the entire world, for the entire universe. You can offer all your goodness to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or if somebody is in need, you can think of them. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great week, and you inspire me all. Thank you.